All right, here we are with section 1, topic 4, midpoint and distance in the coordinate plane, part 1. And I'm actually going to do this particular topic 4 in 2 parts. So this is the first part of midpoint. And topic 4 and topic 5 both cover midpoint and distance, but topic 4 covers midpoint for the most part, and topic 5 is more distance. But again, I'm going to take topic 4 and split it into 2 videos. It's just going to make things a little easier. All right, so consider the line segment displayed right here from A to B, and it's telling us it is 10 centimeters. So the length of segment AB is 10 centimeters. So what is an amount of space in certain units between 2 points on a blank? Okay, this is distance is an amount of space in certain units between 2 points on a plane. Draw a point halfway between A and point B and label this point C. All right, so we could take a ruler and measure this out and make sure that we're smack dab in the middle. I'm just going to go ahead and put that point right about there, and we are calling this point C. So what is the length of segment AC? And what is the length of segment CB? Well, if the entire segment is 10 centimeters, and this is a point that is halfway between A and B, then obviously from A to C must be 5 centimeters, and from C to B would also be 5 centimeters because it's the halfway point. So the length of segment AC is 5 centimeters, and the length of CB is also 5 centimeters. Point C is called the midpoint of segment AB. Why do you think it's called the midpoint? Well, it's in the middle of points A and B. Halfway from each point. Okay. Consider segment XY with midpoint R. What can be said of segment XR and segment RY? All right. So that's segment, it's got that symbol over the top. So we're not saying the distance of. So we have to use a symbol that would mean that XR and RY have the same length. So we're going to say segment XR is congruent to segment RY. So you may have seen that symbol before in the past. If not, here it is. It's an equal sign with a squiggly over the top, and that means is congruent. So in the past, like in 7th grade, you probably saw 2 triangles that were exactly identical to each other in same size, same shape. And we used this symbol and said that triangle ABC was congruent to triangle DEF. So that's what we're saying here. This segment is identical to that segment. We could also write the distance from X to R. Notice, remember, without that symbol, that means the distance from X to R is equal to the distance from R to Y. But it did ask us to compare segment XR and segment RY that way, so that's the one we're going to go with. But also this means the 2 lengths are the same. If segment XR is 2x plus 5 inches long, okay, so let's mark that, 2x plus 5 inches long, and segment RY is 22 inches long, what is the value of X? Well, we know that this segment is the exact same length as that segment, so we're going to set those 2 things equal to each other and do a little bit of algebra. So 2x plus 5 must be equal to 22. All right, remember our algebra skills. Look only at the left side. Can you simplify this? Nope, because those are not like terms. Can you simplify that side? Well, no, there's just that on there. So we're going to try to get x by itself. That is our next job. So we're going to get rid of the other term that's with this variable term. So we're going to get rid of our constant by subtracting 5 from both sides. That leaves us 2x equals 17. And now to get x alone, right now it's 2 multiplied by x, so we're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 17 halves. But we're talking about inches, and 17 halves doesn't really work very well for inches. So we're going to go ahead and change that to 17 divided by 2, which is 8.5 inches. So x is equal to 8.5 inches. And that's all it asked. What is the value of x? It did not ask us to plug that back in, although we know that if we plug that in, 2 times 8.5 plus 5 should be 22, because those two lengths are equal. All right, turn the page. Choose the line segment below. 7x, let's see if we can get that in there. All right, 7x plus 8 centimeters, 9x minus 8 centimeters. If segment A to B is 128 centimeters long, so let's mark that. What is x? Okay, well, they didn't tell us that this was the midpoint, and I don't like that. They should have said M is the midpoint. Oh, I'm sorry, is M the midpoint? Okay, so I'm sorry. There we go. That is what we're going to be looking for later on. Is M the midpoint? Okay, right now we know for a fact that whatever this length is plus this length is going to equal 128 centimeters. And later on, we're going to determine if this is equal to that and that M is our midpoint. That's where we're going with this. All right, if segment AB is 128 centimeters long, then how are we going to figure out what x is equal to? Well, we're going to add this with this and set it equal to 128. Let's see if I can squeeze this in here. So 7x plus 8 added to 9x minus 8 has to be equal to our total 128. Because we're adding, we can just drop off these parentheses without having to worry about distributing a negative or anything like that. And then we're going to simplify our left-hand side. And I have common terms right here. So 7x plus 9x is 16x. And then I have a plus 8 and a minus 8, which are going to cancel each other out. And it leaves us just 16x on this side, equals 128. All right, to get x by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 16. And we get x equals whatever 128 divided by 16 is, which is 8. So what is x? X is 8 centimeters. Or it's just 8. There we go. Which we'll plug back into these and figure out what those would be. All right, what is the length of segment AM? Well, it's 7x plus 8 centimeters, and we know that x is 8, so we're going to put 7x plus 8. 7 times 8 is 56, add 8, and 56 plus 8 is 64. So the length of AM from A to M is equal to 64 centimeters. Remember the distance from A to M, that's what we're writing there. That's why I didn't put a segment symbol over the top of it. What is the length of segment BM? All right, we're going to do the same thing again. So 9 times, what was x? Oh yeah, x is 8, so we'll put an 8 there, minus 8. 9 8s are 72 minus 8, and 72 minus 8 is 64. So the distance from B to M is 64 centimeters. So what does that tell us? If this is 64 and that's 64, what do we know about M? Well, M must be the middle of this whole thing right here. 64 plus 64 makes our total 128. So is point M Is point M the midpoint of segment AB? Yes. The distance from A to M is equal to the distance from M to B. 64 equals 64. There we go. All right. Diego and Anya, going back up to the top here, live 72 miles apart. They both meet at their favorite restaurant, which is 16x minus 3 miles from Diego's house and 5x plus 2 miles from Anya's house. Diego argues that in a straight line distance, the restaurant is halfway between his house and Anya's. Is Diego right? All right, let's draw ourselves a picture here. Here's Diego's house. Straight line distance to Anya's house. And the restaurant is somewhere right there in the middle. All right. So Diego's distance to the restaurant, 16x minus 3, and 5x plus 2 from the restaurant to Anya's house. And the total all the way is 72 miles. They told us that at the very beginning, 72 miles apart. All righty. Diego argues that in a straight line, the restaurant's halfway. So 16x minus 3 would have to equal 5x plus 2 in that case. And 16x minus 3 plus 5x plus 2 would have to equal the total 72. So if both of those would work, then we're good as gold. So let's do this first one. So we have variable terms on both sides, so we're going to subtract to get them over to one side. It seems most logical to subtract 5x off both sides, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, here's our variable term. Get rid of the term that's with it, so we're going to add 3 to both sides. Get x by itself by dividing through by 11. And we get x equals 5/11. So remember what we said the other day. Geometry, got off of there. Geometry answers are not always the prettiest things, but we are going to deal with them anyway. All right, let's see if I can keep keeping these where you can see it. All right, let's do this one. Again, we're adding, so we can just drop off our parentheses, collect our like terms here. So 16x plus 5x equals 21x. And a negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Okay, trying to get our variable term by itself, we're going to add 1 to both sides. And we get 21x equals 73. Divide through by 21. This is also not pretty. And we get x equals 73 over 21. Now look at that. That can't be. If these two were equal and adding these two together made 72, then we would know that this restaurant in the middle was the midway point between these two. But x is not coming out to be the same thing. 5/11 is not equal to 73 over 21. And so no, this is not going to be the midpoint between these two. We could also check this. We could say, hey, from here to here is half of 72. So this is 36. So I could set 16x minus 3 equal to 36, plug one of these in and see if they came out to be the same thing, and they wouldn't. This is not the middle. So no, not going to happen. All right, this is where I'm going to stop for now. The next part of this is midpoint distance on a coordinate plane. So we're going to make that a separate video. So finish up with this one and then click on the next video and finish up the notes. All right.